everyone, welcome to From 2 to 4, where we want to bring Weiss Schwarz for everyone. In our series of deck decks for the Weiss Schwarz Invitational, we have the two-time World Champion Riaz Mohammed. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine tonight.
So, as the accomplished player you are, we wanted to get your deck as soon as possible. And you surprisingly didn't bring AOT. You brought this sort of new deck because I've never seen these before, actually. And it looks pretty interesting. This is SAO Alicization. And let's go about why did you choose this deck and what's like the overall game plan that you want to have in this deck.
Well, on the question of why did I choose a deck, I decided to play this deck because since this majority of the decks that are in this pool would have probably been very competent and would be like the more known popular sets like Konosuba, AOT, Fate, and all the rest of them, like Level of Sunshine. So since there was no competitive season this year, I wanted to test how well or how consistently I can win with this specific deck. Because this is what I had planned to play throughout this entire season if there was a competitive circuit.
I see. Pretty interesting, actually. So you're gonna go overall card by card, and we're gonna ask some stuff. So yeah, level 0 we have the 4 Ricky. This is the weird Ricky. This is like basically the Steins Gate Ricky, level 3, the one to fuck. And the Brainstorm, pretty standard, level 1 to 4. And the green cards. Why did you choose to go with green instead of the regular yellow for Alicization?
Well, for yellow, I do not think the level 1 combo that's associated with yellow, I do not think it is strong enough to reliably reverse things. So I decided to go with the blue level 1 combo, but in return, it combos really nicely with the green, with that other level 1 that's in the deck. So since I was like, okay, well, the green combos nicely, I also tried to find very useful green cards to push into the deck that would help me achieve my game plans.
And
So
as
that's
we
mainly
have,
why.
yeah, and as we have here, one of the best green cards in the set, which is the with Bright Cardinal. It's
Mm-hmm.
a very strong card. Protects your cards from being reversed, which is very important in this meta right now. And a 4K either. So actually pretty good right now.
So what I want to get across about this deck is that it's pretty interesting in the sense that uh, the Alice level 0 that pluses is on death. The 4K beater, yeah, that one there, it's on death. The 4K beater is strong. It counters things like Goblin Slayer's Chaser. It counters oversizes from Konosuba. It even counters the oversized from AOT. And then the Cardinal level 3, the one that clocks itself and bounces cards to hand. Uh, there's some neat like things going on here to where like I think if your deck is weaker, because it's definitely a weaker deck. My goal with this deck early on, transitioning to 0 to 1, transitioning from 0 to 1, is to rush the opponent down, and then because the one combo doesn't require reverse, it allows you to you can expend that hand without having to worry about needing to get a reverse to try to get it back. So it's that's something to note, that the fact that I think it's very important for decks like this that has that type of mill combo to be very aggressive early on, and then refresh your deck to a good deck state, because at the end of the day, what you're relying most is on compression. You don't have a lot of these gimmicky effects or things that allow, what do you call it? You don't have things like, move gear, you don't have rest counters. You could possibly play anti damage, but you're relying a lot on compression. So there's that.
On to level 1. I assume this is the reason why you're playing green. This is a bond to level 1 couple.
Yes.
It's very strong actually. Uh, it protects your combo actually. It's a pretty strong card, and your level combo becomes more consistent. You can do like back to back, pretty strong. And obviously, this card is very very good. Allows you to filter your cards. Any opinions on how this level combo plays out in general?
How the level 1 game plays out?
Yep.
Um, yeah. So I mean, your goal basically from 0 to 1 is to amass like obviously 3 of the level 1 combo, but the green card is there just in case you're not unable to get it to your hand from the deck, and it's in the waiting room. So that's it's also a ditch outlet, so that's pretty good. But your game plan like at 1 is basically to uh, refresh your deck as quick as possible. If especially if you're not compressed or like if you're out of a lot of climaxes. So the game plan 1 is basically the same game plan as ReZero, to where you want to get to a good deck state. The 1-0 Eugeo, the blue one, it's mainly there as a beater, but as you said earlier, it's to mill. Um,
Nice. Very
it,
good.
it's just a very good like solid card. So I figure this unfortunately this Alicization set does not have really good secondary cards because I'm assuming they're probably going to release another set for this later on. So this is also the best blue secondary card because I didn't think any of the green cards are worth, or the red cards are worth playing over this specific level 1. But yeah, no, the game plan level 1 is basically to refresh your deck, or or get to a good deck state. I mean, whichever one it is.
Very good. Very good. Now, you're gonna go straight to level threes because uh, you have one of the most important cards in SAO Alicization, which is the early play Eugeo. And okay, wanna talk about why is this card like very important for the deck?
Yeah, so this card, not only is it early play heal, but the level 3 finisher needs this underneath it as a marker to get its full combo off. Uh, the other thing is this card has a neat effect to where if the level 3 combo is in your level zone, you can send this card to the waiting room and just grab your climax combo from the waiting room. That means that almost every game, it is very hard for you to miss your level 3 combo. I think a card like this that serves multiple purposes is very good, and also is pretty flavorful because I don't think I've seen climax combo experience like it's not an effect that's like uh super well. In fact, I think this is the only effect like this in the English game. To be honest, so I think this is the first time we've seen an effect like this in English.
Yeah, pretty unique actually. I like it a lot. This card is very strong and it supports this deck very well, especially because, as you said, the level three requires to have a Eugeo as a marker.
The level 1 green, uh, it saves any Eugeo, right? So there are things you can do, like saving your level 3 early play with it, and then the next turn sack it so that you can get a climax.
Yeah, it's a very versatile card deck. So let's talk about the level three. Uh, it's a very strong combo. Uh, burns for one and bursts for three, and it's combo with blue gate.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about why did you choose this combo over the Alice combo first?
Well, the the Alice combo specifically, I don't like. It doesn't find its own climax. It's a lot harder to get its level 3 combo, while this one has two ways of finding it. Either level 3 Eugeo that gets it, or the Kirito is a draw 2, drop 1, which allows you to fish for the climax as well. So it's very less hand intensive, or you have to commit less resources into getting your climax combo off. The other reason why I chose it is because it's more reliable at finishing. The Alice mills the top 5 cards of your deck, and for every soul trigger, your opponent takes the sum of the soul triggers after they
Yes.
cancel damage. So it's really hard because you need to have certain deck states for the Alice to be really well, to burn really well, and the Kirito just flat out burn one, and then if you want to, you can pay the cost to burn three, because that's a really cool thing about it is the burn one comes first, and then if you want to pay the cost, you can burn three. So it gives you more information than a card like Yukina, where you have to pay up front everything as soon as you reverse. This one gives you information if they take the damage, or like let's say they canceled the attack and they didn't even take the burn one, and you can actually decide whether you actually want to burn three, uh, or not, or save your resources. So I think that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool how it burns one first to give you like a little bit more information on whether you want to burn three or not. So I think that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
So, and to support this combo because it's on reverse, we have a level assist,
Mm-hmm.
also climax swaps, and gives power to either Kirito or Eugeo. So, pretty strong overall. And we have a red until level 3 leader. Basically, because in the English meta, there's a lot of early plays, so you want to kill them as soon as they touch the board. So I assume this is pretty important to have at least one way to remove.
Well, I thought of it as like it was like a deck building choice in the sense that I needed more red, and I looked and see what red can be beneficial to me if it's in my hand, but also red that I wouldn't miss if it's in level zone. And this kind of fit both those roles. Like it can be a color fix, or if it's in my hand, it can take care of the pesky early plays without having to worry about anti change because it's level 2.
And I think all our viewers have been looking at this card and then have no idea what it does. But this is a 4 in this deck, and it's Demonic Sword Gram. I'm gonna read, and then I want to listen to your wisdom here. Choose one of your characters, plus 3k, and your opponent can play events or backups. Talk about this card. This card
So
is very strong.
yeah, interesting enough, right? This card allows you, because if you notice, it says until the end of the turn, your opponent cannot play events or backups. So it's like it's not with just this any. It's just not with the card you're giving power to. It's the entire for the entire turn. Your opponent cannot respond. So this gets rid of like a lot of the things in the meta, like sack counters, like Starlight and ReZero, especially ReZero. ReZero has these are one of the best sack counters in the game, and this prevents that because there's an Alice level 3 that prevents only events, and it's a 2k support to all Flucklight. I When I've been testing, I had the issue of people dropping normal counters on me, not events. So this card allows me to reliably get my combo off, and it also reliably gets it off against AOT, which they cannot move gear away from it. So that's pretty big to be able to stop AOT from doing what it's good at. So the only way they can stop stuff is using Aaron.
Also, you have like you can stop foreclosure from Konosuba, money counters
Mm-hmm.
from regular SAOs. Like there's a lot of stuff that you can butt
But
out.
interesting enough, it has a second application, and the reason why it's at 4 here is for two reasons. One, I need red fixed, and I could just level this because I don't need like 3 of these in my hand. But two, it's to see it even at level 2. Because decks like Goblin Slayer, decks like ReZero, decks like Eugeo, decks that just like to swarm the field at level 2, but also commit a lot of resources doing so, by just playing 2 early play Eugeos and dropping this, you can wipe their entire field out. And all their resources that they would have used to protect it, they couldn't respond to it. So they just lose their entire board. And I think especially with ReZero and Goblin Slayer, it sets them back, a good bit. Especially Goblin Slayer. Because they don't expect the Priestess to just die because they would protect it with anti-change counters and stuff like that.
Also against the standby decks, very good.
Yeah,
kill the standby targets.
yeah, it's really good, and that's why the combination. Because the reason why there's 2-1 assisters in the deck is with that combination alongside Sword Graham and the level 3 combo, you can even easily defeat Bunny Senpai's bodyguard.
Oh yes, this is 11,
So,
12 with Climax 15, 16.5. Yeah, it's around 18K.
And generally their card is big, but not big enough to topple 18K without a counter.
Yep.
They would have to have like an insane
So,
board, like double level 3 back row, double level 0 Socrates in the front row, and the bodyguard in the center. And I still don't even know if that's enough, but
I think
I can't
that's
really remember.
19.5, but
Yeah,
the comment section can correct me on that. Yeah, but if you
so
have like what they need one Sakuta to tie this combo, that's very strong.
but for them to get that perfect feel is so rare. Like it's really hard for them to get that perfect feel. So that's what I'm saying. Like more times than none, you'll get over it like fairly
No
easily
problem.
with just Sorgram. Like sometimes you don't even need the level assist sometimes, but I mean it's there. You know, it's also a climax swapper. You could even play it down a 2-1.
That's good utility that makes worthy to be run. Yeah, overall, pretty solid deck. It's definitely a take I've not seen on SAO. This is a very strong card. This is probably overlooked. And maybe if SAO has more chance to grow, maybe this could get adapted later into other decks, the other SAO
Well,
decks.
for some time there were some people in Japan and even in America that was using this card when they played Standby Switch, because Switch was susceptible to bounce counters or memory kick counters. So they played this so they can get their Switch combo off without having to worry about anyone like messing around with their combo. So it did see some play, but I think in this deck there's a lot less pieces to commit. So it allows you to do to run it, but also because the Kirito draw two drop one, after playing two of them, you might even see it. Like you might actually see it that way. Like it just all flows really. It's really synergistic with each other. It all flows really nicely.
Yeah, uh, yeah, very strong. It's a very cool deck, and uh, we want to talk about now your expectations about the. What do you think? How do you think you will do with it?
Well, as long as I don't run into Fate, I think I can do fairly well. I think it's competent enough to take games away against even like some of the stronger decks like AOT and Konosuba and Sunshine, because of how ridiculous the finisher is. But there's like almost no room for error because the deck obviously lacks, mass amount of like good utility that the original Avatar net deck had, and it definitely is on the weaker scale of things. But the fact that it attacks specific decks in the meta, especially with the more popular decks like ReZero and Goblin Slayer, is I think will allow me to do well as long as there are no cards like one issue I think because is Batman or decks that have cards like Batman where they pay one and bounce their stuff. Things like that will give this deck a trouble, and if I run into players or decks, decks players that use decks that do stuff like that, I can see where this deck may have issues with it because outside of its level 3 combo, unfortunately, Alicization has no non-reverse, non-climax combo finisher.
Yeah,
It's the only non-climax combo finisher that's left in the set is a on reverse burn one.
the one from the trial deck. I need to
Yeah,
know that.
so it heavily relies on its level 3 game plan because it can consistently hit the board, right? You just need a total of
Yeah,
5 stock to get double Kirito, or a total of 6 stock if you want to play the event.
it's a
Uh,
very low resource.
and the cool thing is, the neat factor is like even if you have the Eugeo in hand, the draw two drop one just synergizes really well with you can draw your cards and then drop the Eugeo and then marker right after because they both happen on play.
It's like
So
actually that you can do exactly that. That's like the intended way.
yeah, I think that's what they intended, right? They intended if it's in your hand, you can just drop it and marker it.
Yeah, very good. Now, any opinions on the tournament itself? Like this Weiss Schwarz Invitational for the most accomplished players? in the
I
world,
think it's interesting because I don't think, like,
in the
I'll be
English
honest,
world.
something.
I need to be correct, but in the
Yeah,
English side,
it's interesting. It's how to put it. It's something I've never seen before, but I think it's an interesting concept. So that, let's say, uh, this situation in the world is going on, like it's going to continue for a while. This is a good way of having some kind of competitive like circuit going on of some sort, like some like at least players can see matches. I think maybe I hope in the future they do a little bit more open where it's not like so like it's only these 32 players. I think it'll be cool to like have some sort of test or have some sort of like way of other players entering. So
yeah,
I
some
think
kind of
I think
qualifiers in the future.
yeah, something interesting like that. So it's more open to the public is basically what I'm saying. But this is a good test to see if this is like if people can do this really easily. Like this seems something that they want to do. I can see it being something as a cool thing to do in the future whenever things like what's going on in the world happens. So it's really cool.
Yeah,
I like
thank
it. It's an
you.
interesting concept.
Yeah, actually, we are super happy that it exists. That's why we wanted to provide this deck so people can see it and people can get more info in the decks because you might be seeing these decks later on your local play or your camera play via remote fight. So we want to give this extra push to the tournament by providing more information and more stuff so people can watch and get more advice while we can quarantine. Yeah, thank you very much for coming to this interview and this deck. It was very insightful. This deck is very interesting. Usually was a little on the weaker side, but it has a lot of good stuff going for it. So yeah, thank you very much. Hope you had a great time in the interview.
No, yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, and thank you, you guys, our viewers, for watching. We are from 2 to 4, and we're signing out. Bye bye.